Introducing the perfect companion to your morning listening routine. AG1's clinically backed formula is now flavor-packed with 3 new delicious flavors: tropical, berry, and citrus. Start the day on a high note with probiotics that taste like the tropics. Mix it up with micronutrients that taste like berry or citrus. And take it all the way back with the classic, AG1 Original, with notes of pineapple and vanilla. Do your health a flavor, or 4, with AG1 Next Gen, the daily health drink. Learn more at drinkag1.com.
Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contrast. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan. $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
The More Money Show with Steve Moore. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Now, my next guest is Tom DelBaccaro, who, if you're a regular listener of this show, you know that I have Tom all the time on because he is one of the sharpest political minds I know, and he's a pretty darn good economist as well. He has several books out. One is called The Divided Era, and the latest book, which I think is just fantastic, you should get it on Amazon. It's called The Lessons of the American Civilization. Tom, thanks for joining.
Always great to be on, Steve. Thanks.
Okay, I got a lot of stuff I need to talk to you about, Tom. So let's start with your best friend, Gavin Newsom. And Gavin Newsom, of course, is the governor of California. And he's making a lot of news lately since the last time you were on, Tom, a few weeks ago. It looks like this guy is running. He's running for president, my friend. And so
100%.
most of our audience is in the New York area on the East Coast. We have some people in Chicago. We don't have too many people in California listening. So my point is, I think a lot of our audience doesn't know that much about Gavin Newsom. You ran the Republican Party in California, so you know a lot about Gavin Newsom. I mean, the guy's charming. He's handsome. He's well spoken. As conservatives should be worried about this guy.
Well, I think he's got a great shot to be the nominee for the Democrats. He's going to declare for running for the presidency in December of 2026, right after the midterms. He's a chameleon. Yep. He's on the left.
Hold on. You said he's a chameleon. What do you mean by that?
He's got no real principles. He'll adopt whatever position he, much like Kamala. Whatever the consultants say will work. Look what he's doing right now, Steve. He's got more police out now because, following what Trump was doing, although he's trying to claim that it was his idea first. So he's just a chameleon that way. Now, our mutual friend, Tony Strickland, was on my podcast, Politics and Perspective, and told me he's worked for 5 governors. Gavin Newsom's the only one of the 5 who never comes to the legislature to hash things out, has no relationship with the Republicans and barely with the Democrats. He's off on his own. Right. So, he's not a policy guy. He's a political guy. And so, yes, he's articulated a horrible record. California's 50th in affordability, 50th in opportunity, tops the worst in the nation in poverty. But as you and I often discuss, the left doesn't care about results. It cares about virtue signaling.
Yes. So I have met Gavin Newsom once or twice. He's a very friendly guy. He's very folksy, and he reminds me a little bit of Bill Clinton, although Bill Clinton was a genuine kind of moderate Republican. Moderate Democrat. I guess what worries me is that he may try to run as sort of a Bill Clinton Democrat, but he's not a Bill Clinton Democrat. He's pretty liberal, isn't he?
Yes, he has adopted very liberal positions when it suited his purpose. So when he was mayor of San Francisco, he used to say you can't be pro-employee and anti-business. Well, he's completely dropped that, which is why so many businesses have left. And we saw Bed Bath & Beyond say things. We saw the hamburger joint give him a bad time. But he is very focused, and you got to give him credit for this. He has put himself in the limelight as the anti-Republican.
Right.
So he's got a great chance. I think he's got a better chance than Buttigieg, who's never really run anything.
Yeah, right.
And he's rising in the polls because he's cast himself now as the fighter. And that's what Democrats want. They want a fighter.
So, but let's go back to his, because you're making some excellent points, and I agree with you. I think he would be a force to be contended with in 2028. We're talking about Gavin Newsom. And by the way, if you're just joining, I'm talking to Tom DelBaccaro, who's a good friend, but also the author of several political books and also served as the chairman of the GOP in California. So here's the point I'm trying to drive at, Tom. California's a mess. Well, I mean, is his message going to be, I'm going to turn America into California? Because California has homelessness, it has poverty, it has terrible schools, people are leaving, there's a big budget deficit. I mean, what's he going to say?
Well, he's during the primaries, he's going to continue to say that, to talk about the fact that government has to help people in need, right. Because right. That's really his only commentary, that in California, we funded this program, we funded that program. This is the Democrats' problem right now. I disagree with anyone who says that the Democrats don't know who they want to be. Remember, the Gallup poll recently said 45% of Democrats said they want the party to be more liberal, and 22% were happy. So that's 67%. And Gavin Newsom is playing to them, but that doesn't play nationally. So he's going to have trouble. I agree with you. You ask a really good question. And you know what? He's got some time to figure it out, but your guess is as good as mine. I think he'll just jump on whatever issue is the day that he thinks will work without any principle.
So let's now switch to I want to keep an eye on Gavin Newsom, folks, because I think I think he's clearly the front runner right now for the Democratic nomination in 2028. But in the meantime, I'm a little concerned. I'm a Trump guy, as you know, Tom, but we are growing the government in some ways that make me nervous. I'm not happy about the idea of the government taking over some of our private industries. I'm uneasy about the tariffs, although he's gotten some pretty good trade deals. What do you make of Trump's performance in the first 6 months of the second term?
Well, I think he has set the table. I like the idea of a negotiator in chief, and I like the fact that he understands that you have to lower costs to bring business back to life here. Mm-hmm. Manufacturing was driven out of the country by regulators and the tax man. It didn't want to leave, but it became cheaper somewhere else. You know this. Money goes where it's welcome, mm-hmm. and we made it unwelcome. And a lot of rich societies do that. So I'm all with him when he says we're going to lower costs and make it okay to do business here. I have much trepidation, however, about using the Oval Office or the government at all to take stakes in companies and pick winners and losers. Look, Intel was run poorly. Yeah. That's why it needs to be bailed out. NVIDIA has been run great.
Exactly.
Unbelievable and succeeded. So why are we, it's reminiscent of the trouble the auto industry got in.
Yes.
We gave them tons of money. They survived, but they still lagged in quality. Toyota still outsold Chrysler. Yes. For a reason. So that concerns me.
Me too. I mean, you've got, for example, we have a recent example of what you're talking about, Tom, with respect to the big auto companies, GM and Ford. The Biden administration basically bribed the Ford to build electric vehicles. And lo and behold, instead of building cars that their customers wanted, they built cars that the government wanted them to build, and they lost $45,000 for every electric vehicle they made.
Yeah, and we have worse examples. Look at Solyndra. So the left wants us to pick an industrial policy, a green industrial policy, sort of an oxymoron. Yeah. But, they funded Solyndra and their particular companies. Now Trump's, look, I'd rather we were helping high tech versus the green, because I think I understand the national security, but I don't want either one of them. And Steve, I talk about this at length in my book, The Lessons of the American Civilization. I quote Adam Smith, and he talks about the fact that the United States was founded very even economic playing field between the colonies, no centralized government, no centralized regulator, and the playing field was flat. But who ran policy 4 years ago? It was Solyndra, it was big pharma, and big government shut the economy down, right? Yeah. That's not a good thing. My vote didn't count as much as Pfizer's vote, and I don't want to live in a world where Intel gets my money and I have no say. That's the whole point of freedom and capitalism.
Yeah, and so this was, I love your book, and I think it's important that we understand the vision that our founders had. By the way, I'm talking to Tom DelBaccaro, and his book is just a really excellent one about the lessons of American civilization. So, how is it that we've gotten to this point today where we have the government now spending $8 trillion a year? I mean, when I came to Washington, we're spending $1 trillion. Now we're spending almost $8 trillion.
Well, I covered this in the book too. You look at governments and its spending, it's 37% of the overall economy, and it really jumped in the 70s. You can look at the chart. Anybody could just chart of spending. And I think it tracked in significant deal. Of course, we had the big union deals under JFK that set the table. But once TV came along and politicians saw a disaster and said, I have a program for that, that's when spending exploded. And it has gone on ever since, because one of the first things my father, who helped start the Conservative Party of New York, said was, this is back in the 60s, he said this to me, the Democrats have it made because they can convince people they can vote themselves rich. And television helped them do that.
Yep. And the problem is that, you start running out of money, and we've run out of so much money already. I mean, Tom, you're exactly right about that. So as you look at the field right now, you also have a division within the Republican movement of what I call sort of the big government conservatives that people that believe the government should be bigger and should be helping people and should be bailing out companies. And then you've got more of the traditional Reagan Republicans like you and me. How do you see that fight playing out between the national conservatives? And by the way, J.D. Vance, who's likely to be the Republican nominee, I would say he kind of leans in that direction of the national national big government conservatism. I think he's a work in progress, but how do you see that fight playing out?
Well, I think in many ways, fate is going to play a part here, because the fate is the fact that interest on the debt is a third of the overall spending, right? Yeah. And 10 years from now, the 1 and 2 will be about $800 billion underwater. That's Social Security and Medicare. And we simply can't afford to spend on these other programs. And it's going to come to, when I go on TV, left-leaning outlets and the like, I say to them, well, what's your choice? Do you want to fund Social Security or USAID? Right. And so sooner or later, we're going to have to realize that we can't, in the United States, fund all these other programs, and the Republicans are going to have to get in line with that. But, Steve, I was really almost angry about 10 days ago when I saw the Republicans fighting about whether or not we should have earmarks. These guys have to realize that inflation impoverishes people. Inflation's related to deficits and national debt, and that's too much spending. So they're going to have to. So when I say fate might decide this, we're going to have so much debt in the 2030s that someone's going to have to come along and be very wise here, or everyone's going to be impoverished.
Well, I couldn't agree more, Tom, and that's what keeps me up at night as well. But we do have a good trend right now under Trump, and I hope that it continues with respect to the secure border. By the way, one other quick thing: how is it that California has become so? The people talk about the gerrymandering in Texas, but my God, California is pretty gerrymandered too.
It is, and I'm about to announce, maybe I'll do it on your show in a couple of weeks, a group to help defeat Prop 50. The answer became when they started driving out businesses in the late 1980s and 90s. Aerospace was first to leave Southern California. They began pushing the regulations. Businesses and jobs began to leave. The middle class began to leave. And you got the Democrats in control now for a better part of 30 years. And Democrats do what Democrats do, which is they never had private sector jobs, so they don't understand you can't grow an economy through regulations. So they basically gutted the place. And we can't do that to the country. And that's what Republicans need to get serious about. Mm-hmm. We tried to cut, 0.05%, and we had a national crisis.
Exactly. Oh, my God, the world's going to come down. The Republicans are going to cut 5 cents out of every $100 that we spend. I mean, it's outrageous. Hey, Tom, I hope you have a great weekend. Thanks so much for joining. That is the great Tom DelBaccaro.
Thanks for listening to More Money with Steve Moore. You can hear More Money with Steve Moore Saturday afternoons at 1. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?
Roger Stone here for Colonial Metals Group. They nailed every call on gold's explosive rally, beating the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, even Bitcoin. And now they're warning the next surge is already underway. Get their free gold guide now at freegoldguide.com/stone or call 800-747-6589. That's 800-747-6589. Learn how to move your savings into physical gold, 100% tax-free. That's freegoldguide.com/stone.